Hey guys, so we're coming to you with another talking video, and in this one, what I'm going to be talking about today is kind of going to be like a story time kind of thing. Basically, I was in somebody's live feed the other day, and somebody said, well, I've never driven in New York City at night. And it got the old wheels turning about the time when I drove into New York City at night. And believe me, guys, it's an interesting story. Kind of makes me look a little bad, but I hope you enjoy. Here's my story about driving at night in New York City. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, so a lot of companies they'll force dispatch you to New York. So, New York City. And you gotta understand there's a difference between New York State and New York City. Because New York State isn't that bad to drive in. It's no worse than Pennsylvania. But New York City is bad. And so look into that when you're picking your company out if that's an issue for you, because some companies don't force dispatch you to New York City and some companies do. So make sure you're looking into that if that is something that is important to you. Anyway, my story dates way back to when I was at CR England. And back when I was at CR England, I went through New York City twice. I personally drove through New York City twice. Once was daytime, and I drove through New York City, over the George Washington Bridge, all the way across to Long Island. That was fine. Another thing about driving in New York City is just be prepared, because getting in there and out of there is going to take your whole clock. Luckily I was teaming back then when I was at Sierra England, so it wasn't that big a deal, but that day I went through it to Long Island, it burned my whole clock getting there and back out to the Vince Lombardi Service Plaza, which is where you'll stop if you leave New York with no time. But that's not the time we're talking about. The time we're talking about is the very first time I ever went to New York City. And we had this cool idea where we were going to drive in New York City. We had like a 5 or 6 o'clock appointment. So we were going to tackle that bad boy at like 1 in the morning when it's dead. And it was dead. There was nobody there. It was kind of eerie how dead it was. But where my story gets interesting is I got lost in New York City at night to the point where I had to wake my teammate up to where he could use Google Maps and the atlas and everything together to try to get us to where we were going. And it got so bad that I pulled my air brakes in the middle. Not in the middle. I was at a stop, and there was like, I was stopped at a stoplight, and I was looking around, and I swear to God, there were 6 options of ways I could have went. And I got completely overwhelmed and scared, and I was really new now, guys. So it was when I was teaming with Jeff. So it was inside of my first 3 months of driving. Probably my first 2 months of driving. And so we got in there, and I stopped, and I pulled my air brakes and turned my 4A flashers on, and I was so overwhelmed, I was about ready to fucking quit right there. It was bad, And I got Jeff up there, and between the two of us, we were able to figure it out. We were going to a food market down there, but it wasn't where we were. It was in the Bronx, and it was just crazy, man. It was just so overwhelming. And that's one thing I want to say is like, especially when there's no trucks around, and even if there is trucks around, if you're overwhelmed, try to find a safe place to pull over, pop your air brakes, turn your four-way flashers on, and just figure it out. Don't make mistakes. Don't, like the Smith system says, leave yourself an out, leave yourself an exit, right? So as soon as you realize there's a serious issue, stop. Somewhere safe, pop your airlines, and turn your four-way flashers on. And figure it out before you advance any farther. Before you go down a road you can't get out of. Before you run up on a bridge you can't get under. Okay? Sorry, I got a little sidetracked there. But it's a serious issue. And so we figured it out. And it is so weird being in New York City when there's nobody around. But we got over to the fish market. And the whole, not fish, food market. Like we were delivering apples from Washington State to New York City. It was a good mile. It was a good load. But it was not a good finish. And we got there, and they shook us down at the gate for $20 cash, just as an entrance fee, like a bouncer. Just to get inside the gate, they charged us $20 cash. Had to be cash. Couldn't be anything else. They did give us a receipt so we could get refunded. Then when we got in there, this is like, I don't know, you might think it's dumb, but this is one of my favorite parts of the story, right? So we find out where we're supposed to back to. We backed to, the backing wasn't hard. It was like any other warehouse. There was a lot of trucks there, but it was decent space to back into. The backing wasn't the issue. So we get back to the door, doors open, chilling, go check in. And when I checked into this place, guys, it was like being in a mob movie, right? So you walk in, and it's funny because everyone that works there looks kind of poor. It's probably a good job for that area, but they're really working hard, and it's a lot of minorities, right? There's some white people there too, but there's a lot of minorities, Hispanics, African Americans, stuff like that, working there. Well, you walk into the office, and in the office there was 3 very clean Italian guys, right? So, like I said, it was like a mob movie, okay? And 2 guys were standing. There was 2 guys. One was standing on each side of the room, and then there was another guy who had a book and he was writing stuff down. And he was the one I talked to. He had the thickest. I'm not even gonna try to impersonate it. The thickest Italian accent. He's like, what are you doing? I told him. He's like, all right, just go wait in your truck. We'll come let you know when it's done. Nothing crazy, right? It was funny because it was like imagine a mob movie. That's how these guys were dressed, with their hair slicked all the way back and everything like that. It was kind of cool. Something I won't forget, obviously. But so we got unloaded, and then we drove out. And then every time I leave New York City, I always stop at the Vince Lombardi on the way out, because usually even if you don't use your whole clock, usually by the time you're done driving through New York City, you're fried. And it was rough on the way out because by the time we left, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, so the traffic was ridiculous. Ridiculous, right? So we stopped at that, you know the Vince Lombardi. It's right after you get off the bridge. You know the bridge, the George Washington. You guys, if you've been trucking, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. But yeah, so we got to the Vince Lombardi, shut it down, and switched out or whatever, got food, whatever. But, driving to New York City is like no other animal there is. And I've driven most cities you can get around pretty good. You know what I mean? But if you have to actually go into New York City, it's rough. Because most big cities like Indy and Chicago and Memphis and stuff, everything's going to be on the outside of the city. You know what I mean? Because they can build out there. But New York City is an island, so they can't really build like that. So if you're not going to New York, a lot of times, not a lot of times, but there are loads. And the thing with New York City is whenever the founding fathers discovered this place and made it, they did not design this place for 53-foot trailers with sleepers on them. Sleeper tractors. So, just adding on to the content, in my honest opinion, I think there should be a giant hub outside of the major cities like that, where we drop things and then they load it onto like maybe 48-foot trailers with day cabs and they drive it into the city. Just an opinion. Because that city is not designed for 53-foot trailers. I mean, obviously, you can get in and out of there. I did it twice. But both times at CR England. Never with Melton. Melton, I got pretty close. But it was New Jersey. And CFI, I was going from Florida up to, like, Connecticut. And it wanted me to go through New York City, but when they sent me the routing information, they had me going around it. So, I'm not going to complain. I'm an over-the-road driver, national, so I'll go wherever they send me. But I'm never going to beg to go to New York City. I'm never going to beg to go to Montana or anything. I mean, I don't mind Montana. Montana's nice, but I'm never going to beg to go to California or Arizona or anything like that. I'm just not going to beg for it. I'm not going to beg to go 70 across Colorado. I'm not going to beg to go 80 across Wyoming. I'll do it. It's just not, especially not in the wintertime. I don't want to do it. So anyway, guys, that's going to about do it for this video. I hope y'all enjoyed. I'm going to try to think of some more ideas for videos like this. And I'll get them out when I can. Thanks for everybody's well wishes and thoughts and stuff like that. We're getting better. It still hurts all the time. Nothing we can do about that. Appreciate y'all watching, though. Hey, check that stuff out in the description. It's some good stuff. There's some good channels down there. Plenty of ways to get a hold of me. All that stuff. But anyway, guys, I'm going to hit the hay. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Hey, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below. I love getting your comments. I always respond to them. And I appreciate any interaction with the video. Thanks, guys. Talk to y'all next time.